Live stream. Just gonna wait a minute or two for some people to jump in, and then we will start. I've got a bunch of really great questions from my patrons on Patreon. Lots of great topics to talk about from the Tennessee trip and just from different questions people have about market gardening. So if you guys are watching, could you just chat something to me so I know if it's working and if the connection's decent? I'm sitting here so that my Wi-Fi hopefully works. Hey, what's up, Matt? Oh, why does it do that? Huh. It did this on the last stream too. It didn't like that position. Thanks, man. All right, let's just give another 60 seconds here, and then I'll start telling you guys about my Tennessee trip. Right now we're in this is all my post-harvest station. Let me plug this mic in too. Make the audio slightly better. So you guys may have seen this before, but my drying table, my bubbler's all shut down right now, but I'll be washing greens tomorrow, and then my salt spinner. Hey Matt, how many people are in the stream right now? I can't see that through my app. Doing Wi-Fi, but man, it still says bad connection. I'll be starting in 1 second here. Just want to make sure everything's working correctly. Matt.
Can you just refresh your chat real quick?
People can probably hear you, but go ahead.
Yeah, we've got people in the chat, but you're just not seeing it.
Oh, okay, sweet man, thank you. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and start then. Alright guys, I'm gonna go ahead and start now. Sorry, I'm still a big noob when it comes to the live streaming stuff. Alright, so yeah, I'm back from Tennessee. Been back for 2 weeks now. And yeah, it was just an amazing time in Tennessee. This was our second time going there. We had been there, gosh, now 3 or 4 years ago now, where we did a permaculture design course over at the farm in Summertown, Tennessee. And yeah, it was an amazing permaculture design course where we got to learn natural building and stuff. So we'd already kind of experienced the more country living of Tennessee and what all that looked like. If you've never been to Tennessee or the South, it's just forest everywhere. If there was no humans there, it would just be one big forest. So that's something I really loved about it. The climate is really nice. We were there actually during the hottest week of the year, so that was a good thing to experience. It was like the 90s the whole time with humidity, but it really wasn't too bad comparing to like living in Asia or in Texas. So we've done the country living thing there. So this trip was all about experiencing the 3 big cities, so Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. Because we're looking to see if we want to move, live, and farm in Tennessee. And so the people that we stayed with are all incredible. Thank you guys so much. And so we got to experience, city, suburban, country, super country, like off-grid. So all the different aspects that we could have experienced in Tennessee, we were able to do that. So now we have a really good idea of what Tennessee has to offer and what we like. So, you know, having said all that, we have decided that we are going to move to Tennessee, and the city that we liked the best, and God, my landlords are running their air conditioning right now. Let me know if that's too loud and I'll move to a different location. It's like 70 degrees and they're running the air conditioner. Super annoying. So we have decided to move to Chattanooga. That's the area that we're looking right now. At around that area, like 25 to 45 minutes outside of the city is sort of the range that we're looking at. And yeah, we really liked Chattanooga. So Maurice, this by the way, this live stream right now, I'm going to be answering questions only from my patrons. These are all different questions that I got from patrons on my Patreon. Normally I do this live stream for patrons only, but I wanted to at least do the stream. I'm trying to change up the format, and I'm going to do the stream for everybody on my channel, but the questions are only going to be coming from the patrons. So if you guys want a clarification about one of these questions, I would answer that in the chat. But other than that, this stream is just going to be from the patrons. If you want to support my work and my video creation about small farming and gardening, you can click the link down in the description to support on Patreon, and then you could ask any questions as you like, give you any personal advice or general growing advice. So Maurice, I started answering some of his questions about Tennessee. He asked me, was there any properties that were of interest? But on this trip, this was more about deciding if we could live there or not. So, then like I said, we have decided that we like it enough. And, you know, some other things about Tennessee that were really cool, we enjoy, aren't driving aggressively. They're not really speeding too much. You know, it's more of a relaxed, down to earth, I guess, type of people, versus California, where it's all about, you know, what can I get out of you? Show me what you got. Like, I'm going to show off. More selfishness, a bit. You know, you're going to get that anytime you're in a city, though, right? That kind of mindset. But out in the country, it's so cool. You know, people wave to you, and when people talk to you, it's more like they're interested in you. They're not being fake nice. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of amazing, nice Californians as well. But just like, you know, when you go to a new place and you get the vibe of an area, it was more of the vibe that I got. Just more polite and kind. I've lived in San Diego most of my life. I've lived in some other smaller cities in California, like San Luis Obispo and Big Bear, which is a mountain town outside of LA. I've lived in Seoul in South Korea. I've been to many other big cities in the world. So comparing my past experiences to like Nashville and Chattanooga and Knoxville, they're much smaller. Nashville is big. Like, it has that big city feel. It felt even bigger than San Diego. Like, the downtown, I felt like, was a bit bigger, almost a little bit bigger than the downtown of San Diego. And Nashville's very country. You know, they have what they call them, the honky tonks on the main avenue there, where it's just tons of different country bands, cover bands, and so it's real high energy, real fun, tons of great restaurants. It's got if you're into big cities, it's got everything that you could want there. As far as the let's see, Chattanooga is an interesting one because it's gone through a lot of renovation in the last 15 years, I believe, or 20 years. It used to be more more crime, a bit more rundown. It used to be a pretty polluted city. There was lots of manufacturing and factories and things like that, wanting to take care of their environment. Let me refresh the chat here, if I remember how to do it. I think that's it. And so yeah, Chattanooga, what we really liked, one of the things we really liked, if you guys don't know, my wife is Korean. I lived in Korea for 2 years, and in Chattanooga, or in Seoul, there's the Han River, this giant river that runs through the heart of Seoul. And in Chattanooga, they also have a river. So that was pretty neat to see that. I just switched to Wi-Fi. I'm hoping that will help out our connection here. Chat is ready to display. Hopefully the chat's working. If the chat's working, someone try. So yeah, Chattanooga, has that beautiful river. The feel of the city was just really nice. We loved the vibe of the city. I mean, some of this stuff is hard to even put into words, right? You know, when you go to a new place, it has that certain smell, it has that certain energy, or whatever you want to say. And Chattanooga for us just had that right vibe. I'll turn on 4G again. If you guys can try to chat, that would really help me out. Maybe you are, but I'm not seeing it on my side yet. It's so crazy, man. Like, I'm in San Diego, you know, super metropolitan, nice area, right? And the 4G is like garbage throughout. Whether you have AT&T or Verizon, in Tennessee, I was out in the middle of nowhere in the country, I still got 4G. I don't know if I could have live streamed, but it's kind of hilarious. Man, I almost want to move this to a different... There we go. Yeah, Matt, I just got the test chat. So, man, this connection's pretty bad. Frustrating. I'll have to try to do a live stream on my laptop or something next time. Let's move out of here. Alright, so we just moved locations. Let's see if this works better for us here. I'm sorry, guys. Nothing I can do about it. The technology is just not working with me. What's up, sir? We stayed in Manchester. And there's just some amazing land out there. Pretty cheap. Oh, yay, the chat's working. Sweet. What's up, Mike? I know I didn't visit Rose Creek. Not on this trip. I will visit them. I've talked to Ray, and at some point, once we move, I'm definitely going to be visiting Rose Creek. And a bunch of other really cool farms out there. The South has a lot of amazing farmers. And then I'll talk a little bit about Knoxville too. Let's see. So Knoxville, yeah, I mean, it was a nice city. It's more spread out than those other cities. For us, that thing just is there as well, which, you know, we're not too into all that stuff, so that was a negative for us. We liked all three cities, but in the end, for us, the Chattanooga area and the Chattanooga, like downtown, and that whole thing we liked the best. And it just feels like a small town and a small place, and it appears as if that city won't be able to expand to such a large size. Like Nashville can just keep expanding and expanding forever and become some multi-million person city, you know, maybe someday. But Chattanooga, because of like its geographic location, it's going to be hard for it to blow up too big. I hope. I don't want to be around a million people. I've already experienced that. All right, so Maurice from Patreon also asked me about, he just asked me, so now we're going to get into some other Patreon questions. These are questions that I've taken from my patrons on Patreon. You can find the link down in the description if you'd like to support and be able to ask a question during these live streams. Okay, so he asked me, what crops am I growing for fall and winter? So here in San Diego, this is zone 10A. So it's kind of special. We can grow throughout the winter. We go down to freezing a couple nights during the winter, depending on where you're at. Some of the valleys will go down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Where I'm at in Lemon Grove is an especially nice climate. From like Lemon Grove, which is like 25 minutes from the beach, west to the beach, this is a very nice area to grow because we don't really get frosts, and it stays a bit cooler in the summer, so we're peaking out at 95. Usually we can hit 100, it's possible. So anyways, for fall and winter, I'm going to be doing radishes, beets, turnips, of course all my salad mix stuff, so lettuce mix. What else am I doing? Right in the fall right now I'm doing some green beans. I'll probably do a little bit of peas. My peppers and tomatoes are still finishing up. Of course, kale, chard, collards, all that stuff. Got 2 beds of my tomatoes left. I did have 4. My cucumbers are almost donezo. Peppers, I'm going to get another harvest or 2. So we're almost done with all that summer stuff. I've been transitioning everything over to fall and winter now. In Tennessee, there's lots of farmers that do grow through winter, I know, and greenhouses and things. So it is possible. They are zone 7A and B there, which is a great zone, I think. So Maurice from Patreon also asked me, is the paper pot lettuce, green onion, and for me, it really is a game changer. It's a pretty amazing tool. And whether or not you should get one as a farm, and also your labor costs. So if you haven't seen the paper pot transplant, Curtis Stone and Diego Footer sell them here in America, North America. And it's just a way to transplant without hardly doing any work. So you sprout them, and I'll show you guys. So if you've never seen it before, you sprout them. So here you can see some lettuce. These are beets coming up. And you sprout them in these. These are called paper pots. They're made in Japan. This entire invention was invented in Japan. And basically, you use a machine. You guys should just look it up if you've never seen it. But these will come out in a big ribbon, and the machine plants them into the ground automatically. So it is amazing. So instead of it taking me an hour to hand transplant a bed of lettuce, or an hour and a half, it's gonna be excellent. $3,000, I think, to get started with the machine and all the pots, all the different accessories that you need, the dibbler, all that stuff. So if you're a size of like a 1/4 acre farm or larger, I think it makes sense. Or if your labor costs are astronomical, if you're paying somebody. But this is going to save you, depending on how much you're planting, it's going to save you, I don't know how many beds you're planting, but a couple hours of labor every single week for the year. So it's a big deal. And it'll even save you time if you are like doing soil blocks versus doing the paper pots. Green onions, I think, is the biggest one. Transplanting green onions is, if you have done it before, is quite labor intensive. You're planting them every 2 inches or so, so it's a lot of work. So I guess that's my recommendation on that. But would be the paper pot transplanter, the greens cut harvester from Farmer's Friend, and then the Jong JP1 seeder. Those 3 tools are just like, those are game changers for me. And there's more stuff coming out soon, so it's exciting. Any tips on starting a small worm bin? Sure. Maybe I'll just take you guys over to my worm bin to talk about that. And I'll kind of show you what everything's looking like right now. We've still got some zucchini squash. This whole area got absolutely destroyed by some skunks and raccoons while I was gone, so I need to replant this still, but I've been harvesting a bit of it. You know, I've got successions of lettuce and salad mixes coming up, green onions. These are my couple tomato beds that are still left. Luckily, my other property down the street is still pumping really well. This is kind of cool. I don't know if you guys ever saw, but the whole idea behind these passion fruit, other than getting food, was that it'd be a nice windbreak here, and I've got two planted, one on the other side, so they're gonna come together and meet in the middle, and they're almost there. That was pretty fun. So, you know, it's been a process getting this place back into order after I was gone for 2 weeks. So let's go check out the worm bin. And we'll talk about starting a small worm bin. And I'll tell you guys about big worm bins too if you want to do a bigger scale version. Okay, well, so I've got a video all about this worm bin system I made and how to and what a 3-tote system is. Under this, if I was going to small at the bottom is going to be used for catching all the tote. The second tote, castings that are essentially done. Washed the other day and they're already finished, so I need to feed them more. The idea behind it is that you never have to harvest the worm or separate the worms from the castings, because most of them go up into this top. So a small version would just to be doing it like this. It's a big piece of wood that goes all the way across. That's like my third tote, but it's the third tote for each one of these totes going down here. I did that to save money and to make it more efficient. You can see a video if you just search kind of home system. Another is pretty good. DIY build them as well. Just search flow through earthworms and you can see what that looks like. That's basically, it's a drawstring. Yeah, let me move back to where I was. The 4G is absolutely terrible in this area. So let me go back over here. I'll explain that worm bed. Very frustrating. So I guess let me know if it's better over here. Yeah, one of these days, guys, I don't know what I need to do to get a better connection, but tell me if the connection's better now. There's just no other way to do it where I can. All right, good. Thank you. Thanks, Native Gardener. There's no other way. You know, I've got Verizon, I've got unlimited 4G, and I don't know how around doing that. So back to the urban worm bag. So it's just like this bag, right? And at the bottom of it, you can pull it open, and you harvest the castings out of the bottom because the worms want to constantly travel up to where more fresh bedding and food is, because from the top you're adding in vegetable matter, more peat moss or straw or whatever carbon source you're using. So check out flow through worm systems and just a 3-tote, and those are really great just for small home systems. If you're gonna go, yeah, how's that 4G? Yeah, I've got 2 bars of 4G. The other option, I could just go inside, so I may do that. So an option for a big worm system would be to use a bathtub. I think those are pretty cool. Jeff Lawton loves doing it that way, because if you can pick one up cheap or free from a dump, it's this gigantic, you know, chemical-free container that you could raise a lot of worms in. Okay, let's go to the next question here. So I'm going to answer a question from Jacob now. This is Jacob from Oklahoma, one of my patrons. on Patreon, and he said he's starting a microgreens business. Hey, what's up, Brittany? Good to see you on here. So Jacob asks, I'm starting a microgreens business, and I'm curious about how possible it will be to reuse my living soils. I feel it will be necessary to add amendments into the system since we're removing the microgreens out, so the microgreens are growing. And he wants to reuse that soil, and he looks like he's going to buy really good soil from this place called Red Bud Soil Company. I looked it up, and they make really good soil. Okay, so let me give you my tips, I guess, Jacob, or my opinion of what you should do. Your soil company looks awesome, so if you should research more into the life cycle of young plants, and when we're growing microgreens, we're harvesting them at the cotyledon stage, and at that stage, the plant itself, it's deriving its nutrition from the seed itself. Once it gets to the cotyledon stage, then it can start photosynthesizing. It's going to start putting out roots, and then now you're getting that full nutrient cycle through roots and photosynthesis. Sometimes, you are growing them to the first true leaf sometimes as well. At that point, yeah, they will be drawing some nutrients, but you can grow microgreens on hemp mats, on like just coco coir or peat moss. So something that is completely devoid of nutrients, you can still grow the microgreens. Now, I love that you're trying to grow it on super healthy soil. So I would just say that to be profitable, I don't know if it'll be super profitable because you're using very expensive soil. So I guess I would just think about that, run your numbers and on your costs, your labor and everything, and to figure out how profitable it's going to be for you based upon the price that you're going to sell your microgreens at. I know for me, like I looked on the website, like 1.5 cubic feet of that soil was $28. I can get 1.5 cubic feet for $10, and it's OMRI certified organic, and it's got worm castings and kelp meal and compost in there. And honestly, even that is a little bit expensive. So just from a business perspective, think about that more. And even though that's a fantastic company, it seems like. Now, he talked about recycling the soil. So can you recycle the microgreen soil and reuse it and use it for microgreens again? Yes, you can, technically. You might run into some problems doing that because a lot of the pre-made soils that you buy from a supplier or store, a lot of those are sterilized, so they heat them up to temperatures like about 180 or more, and that's killing off the life, so that when you're sprouting things out, there's not molds or algae or things like that already in the soil that are going to come to life. Because as a lot of you guys know who have done microgreens, sometimes you get mold outbreaks. It destroys most of the crop in the 10-20, and you're kind of screwed. So you need to think about that, if you would want to sterilize your soil. But now you're not talking about having living soil anymore. It's more of a substrate with nutrients in it. So for me personally, what I would do with a microgreens business, I would be buying in all of my soil or coco coir or whatever it would be. After I had used it, I would compost it. And I would just compost it and then reuse it for my outdoor garden beds. Just because the labor and time that it's going to take you to recycle those flats, that cost will probably be quite a bit in comparison to just buying in more legit soil or coco coir or whatever you want to use. So I guess think about all those different things. I wanted to mention one more thing. My buddy Justin, he has a YouTube channel and Instagram called Seeds of Zanzidu. He did an experiment where he did compost tea sprays on his microgreens to see if it would affect yield or taste or color, things like that. And so he needs to do some more tests, but he said there was a bit of a difference. I think he got like an extra ounce per flat. But you know, I think a bunch of testing would need to be done to see how well that would work out. I'm kind of curious to mess around with that as well to see if there's a difference, but in the end, I don't know how beneficial that will be. How much money do you make from per flat? It depends on which microgreen you're growing. I'm not like a hardcore microgreen grower. I just grow a microgreen mix that I sell at my markets and to my customers. Let me figure that out. Right now I'm doing 7 trays. It'll give me like $150 worth. 150 divided by $20 per tray, something around $20 per tray and sale, and not profit but sale, $20 to $25, something like that per tray. But you got to subtract out labor, you got to subtract out cost and all of that, cost of soil, all that stuff. Somewhere around that, it's a good estimate, I think. Yes, we have decided to go to Tennessee, and I'll be updating you guys more about that as I go along here. So it'll be an interesting ride for sure. All right, Jacob, I hope that helps you, man. Oh, he's got one more great question about Bokashi buckets. And if you guys don't know, I'll show you. So his question was at a Bokashi bucket, and sometimes the Bokashi compost can go bad. But what that stuff is he uses organic beer grain and so another grain, and he inoculates it with EM1, which is a lactic acid bacteria strain, and purple non-sulfur juice, and beet root fermented plant juice that he gets those plants from me and then ferments them and then puts it in his Bokashi. He puts other stuff like minerals from azomite and some other stuff as well, but it's used for many reasons. You can feed it to animals or put it in animal pens to reduce the smell, so it's destroying these bad smelling anaerobic bacteria with these good guys, the lactic acid bacterias. What I've been using it for the last couple of years is Bokashi composting in a bucket. So I have a lid that's a vapor sealed bucket, and this is an anaerobic type of composting. So I would add in my 3 inches of waste, and I sprinkle some of those grains over the top, and I just do layers of that. At the end, I would let it sit for 2 weeks and ferment, and then I throw it into my compost pile and make a really nice compost with it. Bokashi helps me to heat my piles up to easily 150 or 160 every time. So it's a way to add in a bunch more beneficial bacteria, already kind of pre-digested nutrients that is a great, greens or nitrogen source. And so yeah, check out Bokashi composting. It's amazing stuff. I'm gonna do a video on it here soon. I've been saying that for a long time, but yeah, I promise I will get that done this year. So his question was, if it goes bad. So as these materials are fermenting, they're gonna have a kind of pickled smell, could have like more of a yeasty smell. It shouldn't smell putrid or, like a dead body. It really shouldn't smell like that. It should smell a bit more pickly, like a really strong kimchi or something like that. You can kind of compare it to that. So now if it goes putrid or nasty, starts growing in a bunch of crazy molds, blue molds and weird stuff like that, it's bad. Now, he asked me, what could you do with it? What he did is he buried it. I think that's a great way to dispose of it. You could reuse it. You could throw this into a compost pile as long as you're really consistent at getting these temperatures up to 150, 160, so that you're eliminating any bad pathogens that might be in that stuff. And think about where you're going to be using that compost pile. I wouldn't take that, just to be extra safe, I wouldn't take that compost pile with that bad bokashi and put it onto a bed of greens or salad greens or anything that is eaten raw. I would not use it for that, just out of safety. But you could use it for trees or shrubs or plants that aren't touching the ground. Or if it rains, that things aren't going to splash up onto the food that you're going to eat, just as an extra precaution. And the other option, great option, is just to like bury it under the ground where you do your composting. And that's going to attract a lot of life, worms, things like that. And then it's not going to affect the compost piles that you build on top of it. So yeah, I hope that helps, Jacob. I've definitely had a failed Bokashi bucket, so don't feel bad. And usually when it failed, it was because I didn't seal the bucket enough, so air got in there, which could let in bad molds or flies that lay maggots, things like that. The other big thing that I noticed when I have screwed it up in the past is I didn't add in enough Bokashi flakes. So at each, or I would do too much of a layer, like I do half the bucket of a bunch of waste, when I should have spread out, do 3 inches, add Bokashi flake, 3 more inches, add Bokashi flake, and kind of spread it out. Right, I wasn't adding enough Bokashi grain or inoculant, basically. Cool. So now, let's see here. A couple more questions from Patreon. So today I'm basically only taking questions from Patreon today. I do a once a month live stream with my patrons, but I'm kind of switching up how I'm doing things now so that at least everything I'm saying other people online can learn from. So that's why I'm doing it on here for everybody, and I'm only taking the questions from Patreon. On all my other live streams I've ever done on here, it's been a free-for-all. Anybody can ask the question, but today is kind of a special one, and I may do this again in the future like this for my patrons. So if you want to be a part of the Patreon group and be able to ask specific questions and have them answered here live for you, you can support. There's a video down, there's a link down in the description. So another question, great question. If you were able to go back and redo your plot, my prep, would I do anything differently? So, oh sweet, Jacob, glad you're in here, man. I hope everything helped. I try to give as many options and perspective as I can so that you can make your decision on, because I don't know all the details going on for you. So thanks for the question though, really appreciate it. Great question. So if I was gonna redo how I prepped my plot, so if you guys have seen my videos on the plot here on this farm, I did a sheet mulch, a cover crop, and then I knocked down the cover crop and I covered that biomass with a tarp for 4 weeks, and then I tilled the ground to make my beds. Now, we had super frozen ground here. It was super clayey, rocky, and I wanted a very simple way to be able to make and form my beds. Of course, by doing that, bringing the rototiller in, I did damage a bunch of soil life that I created by having that cover crop. So, it's not the end of the world. Obviously, I didn't kill everything, but having the rototiller to be able to do that, to make my beds initially, saved me an insane amount of labor. Within 2 hours I was able to form all my beds with it. So having said that, I think maybe if I was gonna do it again, I'd probably rototill first to form my beds. It's a tricky thing, because I've thought about doing it different ways, and I don't know. I'm pretty happy with how I did it, but another version of it maybe would be to rototill first and form the beds, and then cover crop into those beds first. Crimp it all down. But see, I was crimping it down with this little driving tractor, so I would have compressed all those beds. It's not as detrimental, obviously, as rototilling though. But I could have just crimped it, covered it, and then I would have had basically formed beds right there. I just would have had to rake it up a little bit. So I guess that would be one difference. And so cover crops, they work really well. I was pretty impressed by the fertility that it brought. But having said that, how I prepped my other plot down the road, that was completely no-till. I've got videos on all of this stuff that I'm describing to you guys as well. If you search my channel, it's called Building the Market Garden. That's the name of the playlist. And you can see all these videos that I'm describing. And that one, I did completely no-till. But that one cost me more money. And when I started my farming business here at this property, I didn't have a lot of money to dump into it. So I wanted to do as much natural fertility as possible without bringing in. What did I pay for all that compost? I got like 17 yards. Gosh, I can't remember. It was $35 a yard plus like $120 for delivery. It was somewhere around $1,000. I can't do the math in my head right now. And so on that property, what I did is I put out cardboard over the entire front yard. Luckily, I have a couple great sources for getting cardboard, thanks to my buddy Rusty. And so covered all that. And then I just, with wheelbarrows, we took all that compost and dumped it and formed beds on top of the cardboard. The cardboard suppressed weeds, added a little bit more carbon, organic matter, and then just formed the beds directly on top. I built them really tall too, like almost 12 inches. And the idea behind that was I don't want to have to bring in a bunch more compost to this site for a long time. I want to have a real good base of organic matter and nutrients there so that I could just come in and feed foliarly or fertigate through my drip system with my compost worm teas, with my Korean natural farming. I could sprinkle in fertilizers over the top, and I wouldn't really need to bring in compost there. And it's worked incredibly well. Impressive. I've never rototilled my tilther, so that's super low till, and I've barely even used the tilther over there. I've basically stopped using the tilther over there. So that's it's basically Charles Dowding style market gardening over at the property. And crop, I did have a little bit of extra compost that I was able to store behind the house. So I'll do 5 buckets of compost each time, and that I just think about that as it's basically a soil inoculant to reinvigorate those beds with soil biology. It's not really adding much in the way of available nutrients, but something else I do over there is when I take out my salad mixes or whatever crop it is, I don't get super anal with how much I'm taking off the bed. So there'll be a lot of leaves. I try to leave as many roots in the ground as possible too, not take those out, so that's feeding soil biology, feeding the soil, and making sure that everything's staying really healthy over there. And so in my opinion, if you're going to start a market garden, to me, the best way is to start it like I just described, where you drop some money, you bring in a ton of compost, and you make those beds. And you're just going to be way better off from the start versus starting out with native, probably pretty crappy soil. So, oh yeah, Matt, so let me give you guys some good sources of cardboard, and maybe just call around in your local area to see. So one of the big ones was a glass company, which is just down my street, and they they're shipping like large panes of glass all over the place. and who knows what else. And so they're wrapping that in cardboard. So one of the times I went down there, they just like dump out trash on the side of the road, and then people can, wood and all sorts of stuff that you can pick up. One time they had these sheets of cardboard, I kid you not, they were exactly the same length of my bed that I needed, like 40 feet long and like 2 feet wide, with no writing, no glue, a tiny bit of cellophane tape that I had to take off, and that was it. So that was amazing. So glass companies like masonry, mason tile type companies, they use cardboard sometimes. And then the other big one that my buddy Rusty hooked me up with was a garage door company. These huge garage doors come in these big, I don't know what they ship in, but in these big boxes basically that have tons of cardboard, and they're big, long, thick sheets. So if you have any of those businesses in your area, give them a call. Who knows? Maybe they definitely don't do anything with it. They're probably paying to recycle it. So that's my recommendation. I need some water. Let me. I don't know where my water bottle is. I guess I forgot it. That's all good. Yeah, that would definitely work for sheet mulching. The big, some of these cardboard pieces, they're pretty thick. That's even better for sheet mulching, because it's gonna, if you're dumping in enough compost on top where your plant roots are just gonna live in that compost anyways, it's gonna be better for weed suppression. And the cardboard I used for my cover crop and sheet mulch, it was like your normal thickness, and that stuff was gone in like 3 or 4 months, honestly. Like, it got eaten up pretty quick. I was surprised. That thicker stuff, it's probably gonna take 6 months, 8 months maybe to completely be obliterated. But it shouldn't matter if you're doing no-till and you're just adding on compost and planting into that. So another question from Patreon here. What were your biggest challenges growing this season? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is definitely critters, animals coming in and destroying my beds. For some reason, so I've got skunks, possums, raccoons, and there's certain times of year where they just find this area and they come in. It's interesting because they will only rip up beds that are freshly like made. They want open ground, or it's got to be or like wet ground. They like that too for some reason. So I'll seed a brand new bed. I just prepped it and everything, put new compost. I seed it, and then next day or two, there's all everywhere. Everything's destroyed. Or right after germination, they destroy it all. And so that's been a pretty big issue. So some ways to prevent that. Some ways to prevent those specific critters. I installed 2 security lights. I've got a video about doing that, and the security lights have worked extremely well. I've been really impressed. All the areas where the light in the way or it's too far away, the light doesn't come on, those are the areas they choose to dig. Any areas that get hit by that light, they don't dig. So for me, for those animals, that trick has been really effective. Other than that, let's just say I get rid of them, and I'll just leave it at that, because they're destroying hundreds of dollars worth of my product and all of that. Something else that has been difficult this season. This is the 3rd season on this property, so things are pretty streamlined now. Not too many difficulties. What else? Running with me over to the other property. That's not that big of a deal, though. But I don't know. What else is hard? Well, I started doing microgreens this year. That was a little bit of a learning curve. But what's cool about microgreens is that you're doing so many iterations. Like every week you're planting, so you can learn really quickly. And one more tip for those animals I spoke of, possums, raccoons, skunks. Besides the security lights, when I was doing my research, there's also this it's an automatic water sprayer. I think you can get them on Amazon. And the sensor picks them up, and instead of shining a light, it shoots water at them. And it apparently works for dogs too. Maybe you have coyote problems. I've also heard that those are pretty effective at stopping them or getting them out of here. So try that out. Yeah, Matt, exactly. Yeah, there's a few of them out there. Let's see here. So a couple more questions from Patron here. Any changes in the crops, the inputs, the infrastructure, the marketing in the near future? Well, honestly, because we've decided to move to Tennessee, I'm not going to be investing any more infrastructure or anything else here at the farm. I'm going to be moving it to the next farm eventually, but basically, I'll tell you guys, the game plan right now is probably sometime in February, we will try to maybe move there and rent, or maybe stay with a friend there for a month or two until we can find the house we like and buy it. So this is like 4 months away. So, we've just figured out in the last day really that we're going to be able to get a loan and afford the house and all that stuff. So now my next kind of big thing is, how am I going to stage down the farm and start shutting it down really. It's kind of sad, but I'm very excited about getting land and a new property in Tennessee. So won't be doing any more infrastructure. Let's say I was going to be stop farming at my smaller plot. Having the Bootstrap Farmer greenhouse, that was a major piece of infrastructure that really changed the game for me as far as doing microgreens year round and doing my starts early, all of that. As far as inputs, I'm continuing to do more and more Korean natural farming and experimenting with that and using that in my systems. So that is something I'm really going to be doing more and more of going into the future, especially on my new property. I hope to be able to display starting a garden plot with KNF techniques, KNF plus no-till techniques, and displaying the results of that. Marketing changes. If I was going to stay here, I'd probably try to, especially if I'm going to grow more food, I'd probably expand my microgreens production as well. Try to get in with some more chefs, restaurants, maybe offer sales through my website. Let's see. Beyond that, it's hard to think about that now. All right, the last question I have here from Patreon is, what drives you to keep farming? That's a good question. Well, let's see. There's a lot of reasons, I guess. I guess one big reason for me is the ability to eat really healthy, delicious food. That's something that's really important to me. I love not paying for vegetables. We barely go to the grocery store. Like, we're either getting stuff that I grew, my buddy Jared grows, or from the farmer's market that I sell at. So that's really fantastic. The other thing that keeps me farming for sure is the creativity and all the innovation that is possible in this field, especially now. There's been a real resurgence of young people and people who want to get into farming now. So as you guys have seen, in the last 5 years, if you guys have paid attention to organic farming at all, or small farming especially, there's so many new tools and things like the paper pot transplanter, the greens harvester, that have come along and made things far easier to farm on a small scale, using less labor, making it profitable to do it. So for me, being a part of that whole movement of innovating, for me, it's about really proving, nature's always right? So proving that natural farming, that we can make all of our own nutrients. That's kind of what my farm here in San Diego was all about. How is it possible to create all of your own nutrients on site with like 20 chickens and making compost teas? Now that, Bokashi composting, doing Korean natural farming. And to me, I feel like I've really proven it to myself, at least, that it is very possible to do it. It might not make the most business sense profitability wise because of all the time to make all the compost, but it is possible to do it on a small scale and still have a profitable business. So for me going forward, that's what I'm really excited about, is just trying to innovate and experiment more with these natural techniques and show evidence behind all of this stuff. So I'm talking science in Tennessee. 4 weeks, so my subscriber count has gone down a bunch, but it'd be cool to make it. I'm going to interfere with, talking about the future. What's it going to be? Well, I don't really know what's going to happen, honestly, once I get to Tennessee. Tennessee farmers market customer. It depends, I think. Depends where you are in Tennessee. I think, so to me, what it seems like in Tennessee is the small movement is just getting there. There's a lot of really great small farmers there. I don't know, it's kind of like all over the country, really. All these small farmers are kind of coming online. And there's not even that many, to be honest. Even though the rise in popularity is happening, like in San Diego, it's crazy. There's hardly anybody who's doing small scale, regenerative market gardening. I know 10, 15 farms, maybe something like that I can think of right now. So, I think most areas of the country, there's some places that are super inundated, like maybe the Pacific Northwest has so many really good market farms and stuff, but most of the country, I think, it's just wide open for competition and people getting into this. So, and I think Tennessee's got good potential as well. Obviously in the Midwest and the South, people are way more overweight there, way less health conscious than on the West Coast for sure. I could definitely speak for the West Coast in saying that people are way more into healthy food and lifestyle here. But I think it's coming to the Midwest and South. It's, everything takes a little bit longer to arrive to those areas of the country, like culture-wise, and, some things about the culture we don't want going there, right? But, Tennessee has good potential, and I think the South has good potential, and I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah, Jacob. So I started doing this 8 years ago, and this is before Curtis Stone all the YouTubers were doing all this stuff, and definitely been a huge increase in the interest and the amount of people trying to do this, for sure. People thought we were crazy for trying to start, crazy. But now there's so many successful examples of small farmers now. It's undeniable at this point. And even though there's so many people getting into it, it's still not even that many, I don't think. There's just not many people willing to do the work, I think. And we'll see, though. I don't know. For me personally, my hope is that more and more people get into this lifestyle and this type of business. for sure. I mean, that's one of my motivations for doing the YouTube and trying to teach people about this, because for me, it's just like, it's the most valuable thing I've ever done in my life, and the amount of value I bring to my family and to other families is insurmountable. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, the amount of health that small farms are able to bring to people is amazing, and that's another reason, like, that keeps me farming, because farming is the basis of civilization, and the food we grow becomes the bodies of our customers. And if you're eating garbage food filled with poisons from the stores, you're poisoning your body, and you're going to get sick, and you're going to have sad things happen in your family. And so we're helping to prevent all that and have people live happier, healthier, more enjoyable lives as a result. So that is, to me, that's like at the core of farming, and it's the real deal. If you want to help people, if you want to bring value to other people, like, I just can't think of something else that, like, brings more value to your life than, like, what you're putting in your body every single day, right? Obviously I'm a little biased as a farmer, and there's plenty of other occupations and people doing amazing work for humanity, but I'm a little biased towards farming, right? Subscription to support, even if you just donate $1, you're able to ask questions. And thank you to Jacob Maurice and for asking all those great questions and helping us to have a great stream. So I really appreciate you guys. I'm sorry that the internet is so laggy, man. It's frustrating. I don't know, and I just don't know how to make it better other than doing the stream from my Wi-Fi. So if anybody has any other questions about any things that we talked about today, I'll just take another 5 minutes to answer those questions, and then I'm going to go edit my video. So right now I'm working on the Tennessee kind of vlog that I shot. I was just I do have an extender actually, but it's all the way at the main house. I've tried extending it, and I don't know. I'll have to do a speed test and see what kilobits per second. If I was in charge of everything, I could set this up correctly, but I'll be doing that at my house, obviously. So yeah, with my Tennessee road trip video, you're gonna see, like, the city, like Nashville, Chattanooga, Knoxville. You're gonna see the different country areas we went to. You'll get a little bit of a sneak previews of, I shot 5 different videos with some different homesteaders, flower farmer, 2 flower farmers, homesteaders, an awesome market garden called Mountain Roots Farm in Knoxville. So yeah, 5 different videos all about stuff going on in Tennessee, which will be really valuable. Should be really interesting for everybody, I think. So I'm gonna try to get my vlog video out by Friday. I've got my farm kind of put back together now for the trip. Things are growing slower, so I should have a lot more time to work on my videos finally after a very busy summer of farming. So expect a lot more out of me. Hold me to that, please, so I can make it happen. So yeah, that's what's coming up soon. And I've got, like, besides those 5 videos, I've got another maybe 20 videos in the pipeline, like some really cool interviews with 2 amazing Korean natural farming teachers. I've got, what else is going on? Worm videos, paper pot transplanter videos. I've got I don't even know, a bunch of other cool stuff. So I just got to edit it and get it out, basically. So I'm going to try to really pump them out for everybody soon here. Anything else to talk about, really? Oh, yes, there is. So we are going to be doing a workshop. So myself, oh man, the connection's getting bad. Jeez. Let's move it again. There we go. So we're going to be doing a workshop, no-till farming workshop. It'll be an all-day workshop at Jared's Real Food Farm in Lakeside here in San Diego. And we're teaming up with no-tillgrowers.com, which is Jesse Frost of the No-Till Market Garden podcast. So he will be here along with Jackson. And then it's me and Jared are going to be the main teachers for the course. And I put a link down in the description if you guys want to, if you're going to in the Southern California area and you'd like to come out. It's going to be a great course. We are going to be talking more large-scale farming, like market gardening, like Jared is doing on like 2.5 acres. His hedgerow systems, he does 4-foot beds. I'll be teaching about urban farming, real small scale farming, talking about making your own nutrients. We'll be covering a whole variety of topics. We'll be doing in-field teaching as well as classroom teaching. We're going to provide lunch for you guys. So go find out more about it down in the video description. There's a link to the No-Till Growers event page for you guys to check out, and hoping to meet some of you guys there and get to know you. We'll be spending the whole day with you teaching, and then it's like from 8 to, I think we're going from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then after that, we're going to go out to a local brewery here in San Diego, and we're just going to hang out, have beers, talk, and you'll be able to network with all the other no-till farmers here in the area. And I think that'll be a really special thing because, as farmers, we don't, a lot of us aren't getting out that often and meeting people and exchanging ideas, but it's insanely valuable to be able to share what each of us are doing on our farms, and because we're all doing different things and providing solutions to different problems that we can all help each other. So check out the no-till workshop down in the description, and hope to see some of you guys there. Anything else to talk about? Well, I think that's pretty much it. Unless somebody has something else to say, I'm going to drink some water. My throat's killing me. I got to remember to bring water next time. And yeah, thanks for joining in on the live stream. It was real fun. I hope I answered your questions well and that I helped you. And yeah, look forward to the Tennessee travel video. That should be coming out. I think it's going to come out Friday because I got a harvest tomorrow for Friday's market. So between today and tomorrow, I should be able to get it all finished. All right, everybody. Dave Johnson composting. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I don't know what that is. So, all right, everybody. I'm going to take off here. Thanks for watching the live stream. And I will catch you on the next one. See you very soon. Bye.